Sunlight vanishes just 200 meters beneath the waves. That is where ordinary life breaks down. Nearly 90% of midwater creatures here can generate their own glow, adapting to endless night. So why do the deepest, darkest waters turn evolution upside down? The answer forces us to question everything we thought we knew about life and light. Let us descend. A remotely operated vehicle rests on the deck, its metal frame glinting in the last rays of afternoon sun. Inside the control room, a pilot checks the screen, pressure sensors, lights, thrusters, all responding. The target depth is just past 200 meters, where the ocean's twilight begins. Here, sunlight fades into a dim blue haze and photosynthesis ceases. This is the border where familiar life starts to thin, replaced by forms adapted to a world without day or night. The pilot's hands hover over the joystick. With a nod from the team, the vehicle slips beneath the surface, cables unfurling behind it. The descent is slow, deliberate. Numbers on the depth gauge tick upward. At 200 meters, the colors of the world above are gone. Only faint, scattered light remains, enough for shadows but not for growth. Every meter deeper means colder water, higher pressure, and a growing sense of isolation. The remotely operated vehicle's floodlights pierce the gloom, revealing nothing but drifting particles and the first hints of alien shapes. In this zone, vision becomes unreliable, and the rules of survival begin to change. A sudden spark flickers on the pilot's camera, one pinpoint of living light adrift in the endless blue black. Down here, where sunlight is a rumor, life invents its own illumination. Nearly 90% of animals in these midwater depths create light. Some, like lanternfish, paint their bodies with rows of glowing dots, each a private language of signals and warnings. Others wield light as a lure. The anglerfish, for example, carries a tiny lantern at the end of a fleshy rod. Its secret is a colony of bacteria drawn from the surrounding seawater that settles into the angler's lure organ after it forms. These microbes, once free-living, now exist only to shine, their genomes stripped down for a single task. The fish offers shelter and nutrients, and the bacteria provide light, an uneasy alliance in the dark. Not all displays are so calculated. The Dumbo octopus, when caught in the ROV beams, glides by with gentle flaps, its ghostly form untouched by the need for display or defense. In these waters, light is language, camouflage, bait, and warning, a currency more precious than gold, traded by creatures we can barely imagine. Every night, as darkness settles over the ocean's surface, a hidden tide begins to rise. Billions of creatures, tiny shrimp, lanternfish, and swarms of zooplankton leave the safety of the deep and ascend toward the upper layers. This mass movement, stretching from the mesopelagic zone to the edge of sunlight, is the largest migration on Earth. It spans hundreds, sometimes more than 1,000 meters, with more living matter on the move than in all the world's herds and flocks combined. The scale is so vast that in the 1940s, naval sonar operators mistook the migrating animals for the seafloor itself. Each dawn, sonar screens showed a solid band at 300 to 600 meters. At nightfall, it rose toward the surface, a false bottom alive and shifting. Today, this phenomenon is known as the deep scattering layer. It is a curtain of life that breathes with the planet's own rhythm, rising and falling in unison across every ocean. In the darkness, the true shape of the world is revealed not by land or water, but by the restless movement of life itself. Pressure in the deep ocean is relentless, rising by 1 atmosphere every 10 meters. At 1,000 meters, the weight is enough to crush an unprotected submarine. Yet life persists. Deep-sea creatures rely on invisible, molecular tricks to survive these crushing forces. Their cells brim with special compounds called piezolites, tiny molecules that act as natural stabilizers. One of the most important is trimethylamine N-oxide, known as TMAO. As depth increases, so does the concentration of TMAO in muscle tissue, buffering proteins against the relentless squeeze. The deeper the animal lives, the more TMAO it carries. Scientists have measured a steady climb in its levels from shallow fish to those found near the ocean's deepest trenches. But TMAO is only part of the story. Cell membranes too must adapt. Instead of the rigid saturated fats found in surface dwellers, deep-sea animals pack their membranes with unsaturated fats, keeping them flexible and leak-proof under pressure. Even the machinery of life, enzymes, ribosomes, molecular pumps, undergoes subtle changes in shape and chemistry, holding their structure where ordinary proteins would collapse. Survival here is not a matter of brute strength, but of molecular finesse, honed over millions of years. In the darkness, every cell is a fortress, proofed against a world that never lets up. Scarcity in the deep ocean is an architect. Here, every meal is a rare event. and bodies are shaped by hunger. Some predators, like the gulper eel, carry jaws that unhinge to swallow prey nearly half their own length. Mouths so vast they seem to threaten the very idea of proportion. The black swallower, another resident of these depths, is known to gorge itself on fish much larger than itself, its stomach stretching until the outline of its last victim is visible through translucent skin. For scavengers, patience is a survival skill. The vampire squid drifts with outstretched webbed arms, collecting falling detritus and plankton in a sticky net, feeding on whatever the currents deliver. Even filter feeders adopt strange forms. Some comb jellies and larvaceans build elaborate mucus houses, sifting the water for particles invisible to the eye. In this world, nothing is wasted, and every adaptation is an answer to famine. The grotesque, the oversized, and the transparent are not accidents, they are blueprints written by scarcity, ensuring that when food does arrive, it is captured, swallowed, and hoarded against the slow, uncertain clock of the deep. Time stretches out in ways that defy surface logic. A single whale carcass drifting down from above transforms the seafloor into a temporary oasis. For decades, one sunken body can sustain entire communities, first drawing in sharks and hagfish, then giving way to waves of smaller scavengers, and finally to bacteria that feed on the bones themselves. Each stage unfolds over years, sometimes generations, as life extracts every last trace of energy from what little arrives. Elsewhere, the Greenland shark glides through the cold darkness, its body moving with deliberate slowness. Scientists estimate that some of these sharks may live for 400 years or more, outlasting entire human civilizations. Their flesh grows slowly, their hearts beat unhurriedly, and their eyes bear scars from encounters with bioluminescent parasites. In these depths, patience is not just a virtue, it is a necessity. The ocean's slow clock rewards those who can wait, who can survive on the edge of famine and make a single meal last for decades. Here, longevity is an adaptation as strange as any glowing lure or monstrous jaw, a quiet defiance of the haste that rules the world above. A single thread, nearly invisible in the dark, drifts through the water, longer than a blue whale, longer than a city block. In 2020, deep in the canyons off Western Australia, researchers piloting an unmanned vehicle encountered a siphonophore stretching at least 45 meters, possibly more. This is not one animal, but a colony, thousands of clones fused into a living filament, each segment specialized for hunting, moving, or digesting food. The colony coils in a slow spiral, trailing stinging tentacles designed to paralyze passing prey. No vertebrate on Earth matches its length. For the team on the support vessel above, the discovery was both a triumph and a reminder. Technology can reach these depths, but the scale of what lives here, fragile, immense, and mostly unseen, remains beyond human measure. In the abyss, even the act of observation feels like trespass. In the deepest trenches, the numbers defy belief. More than 3/4 of the animals captured by remotely operated vehicles have never been described by science. Each new dive reveals creatures that belong to no known family, their forms and behaviors unrecorded, their names unwritten. The further the cameras roam, the less familiar the world becomes. Yet even here, in places untouched by sunlight, the fingerprints of humanity are unmistakable. Microplastics drift through the water column and settle on the abyssal plain. Amphipods collected from the Mariana Trench, nearly 11,000 meters down, carry fragments of synthetic fiber and traces of industrial chemicals in their bodies. The unknown multiplies, but so do the signs of our reach. The deep ocean remains a frontier of unanswered questions, where the greatest mysteries are not only what lives here, but what we have already left behind. Beneath us, over 90% of deep-sea animals remain undescribed. Every new dive uncovers forms stranger than fiction. Proof that Earth's greatest mysteries are not in distant galaxies, but in the abyss below. The next discovery waits in darkness, rewriting what life is and what it could become.